Both hilarity and opinion with Jamie, Simon and Hutch. The Newcastle Comparison, live weekly on NUFC Talk Radio, on YouTube and in all your listening platforms. NUFC Talk Radio, the voice of the Toon Army.
Good evening, afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Newcastle Comparison. That wasn't quite right, that intro, because it said with Jamie, Simon and Hutch, and it's just me and Simon tonight. Hi, Simon.
Hello, Jamie. How you doing?
I'm all right. We'll see if we can manage this, because it's probably the best way in many ways, because being a particularly dour day, so we didn't need the particularly dour member of our cast really involved, did we? Because that might have just been too much to take.
Well,
I
indeed,
think,
yeah.
In a way, I bet he sort of loved that Wolves game, didn't he, Hutch?
Well, I'd like to think better of him, and he wasn't overly positive on the WhatsApp, was he? But we'll get into that.
Yeah, I don't like to think better of him, which should become clear by this time. But hello everyone on NUFC Talk TV. This may not be the first you've seen of me today, because I did a watch along earlier on with the gang at a secret undisclosed location somewhere in Newcastle, and we had a laugh, but it was fairly flat by the end of it after the match we watched. If you are listening to us on any of your podcast platforms, we'll keep it audio for that. But if you're on YouTube, we're open for super chats as well. Although I do not blame anybody if you are completely worn out today and have had enough of your Newcastle United. So we've been talking about a few things, Simon, but we haven't really mentioned the game. So
no,
without mentally transporting me to Wolverhampton any more than you absolutely have to, what did you make of it?
Well, I'm going to paint you a picture of my Sunday afternoon watching the match, which was entirely pleasant, to be honest. The surroundings were nice. I was sat in my lounge. The fire was on. Sunday dinner cooking in the kitchen, smelt delicious. Son was quite happily playing with his trains in front of the telly. And I was sat on the sofa watching the game. And if that is all making you feel, yeah, exactly. If that's making you feel sleepy, the game didn't help, because for the first 20 minutes I was engaged, and then my eyelids started to get very, very heavy for the second half. For the second half of the first half, it was, to be fair, as away performances go, and this was my point to Hutch in the WhatsApp as well. You want those games to be dull. Like, you want to control those games, and we controlled that game. Like, we were all in. But Stone me, it was. What do you mean?
You wanted a dull game.
You want the away crowd to just be like nullified. You don't want them getting up for it. And I mean, to be fair, we delivered that. There was nothing to cheer. We controlled the ball, we controlled the game, but we did not make many chances. And as we discussed with Hutch on the WhatsApp, I think we should have won it. Obviously, I think we had chances, and I don't think, I'm going to jump straight to the point, I don't think Howe and his tactics was the problem today. I think some of our players didn't put the ball in the back of the net when they should have done. And if Waltemada puts that header away in the first half, we win that game comfortably. Eddie Howe's hailed as a hero. We're fifth. I think that's the margin that we're working on. But yeah, it was a dull game. We should have won it. We dominated the ball. Wolves weren't a threat, but yeah, it feels like a chance wasted.
It's not the first time I've said this the last couple of days, but saying to our team, you could go in the top 5 in the Premier League, seems to have the same effect as passing a bottle of whiskey around the changing room. They just choose that moment to lose their heads, and we get this kind of game. I mean, we didn't lose, which is literally the only positive thing I can think to say.
Yeah.
But I would disagree slightly on the tactical thing, because I think what he's trying to do, like you said there, is stifle the Wolves crowd and let them run out of steam a little bit, and towards the end, towards the last half hour, kind of take advantage when they come out. And Wolves never came out. They just sat back into it. And I think he could have taken the initiative himself. Instead of doing the like-for-like subs, put somebody else up front. Like left Voltemade on with Wissa. I think what we've got here is a classic example of the amount of games catching up, because Howe thinks PSV on Wednesday, we'll get that later. I can't afford these guys to both be playing this much football. It's either or. And I think even though that was probably still when we had our best chances, the last half hour, it was just a tough watch, wasn't it? It was a 2:00 kickoff, but it was raining, it was grey, and it just felt like you could go to bed after it, or halfway through the first half, if you're you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and
it was exactly that. Yeah, and I there's a couple of other points I'll make in a bit, but it was just like the system was like we were in control. There's no doubt we were in control, and we created some chances, but we should be putting a team like that under more pressure, and trying to get something in the first half and running at them a bit more. But it just didn't seem to have that intensity. No, not today.
No, we couldn't turn that possession into actual chances. We didn't have. Did we not have a single shot on target?
No.
Or was that?
Well, we didn't. I think I text the group about 10 minutes to go or something like that, and it was after Trippier's free kick where he hit the side netting, which I don't think.
Yeah,
doesn't count as a shot on target.
Of course, that doesn't count.
Yeah, but yeah, I think we should have had shots on target. That was my point, and the players that were responsible in those positions just weren't having it. The thing with me is, if you look at the first half, the chances that Voltemade would get, you'd like Wissa to have, and then the chances in the second half that Wissa was getting, I think Voltemade would. And it was like, this is like it's so frustrating. So it was dull Sunday watch, but I had a nice Sunday dinner afterwards. So compliments to my wife.
Well, I didn't. I just rolled in and made myself my own omelette. So I've had a different day all around.
God, there'll be people watching this just like, what's that scene in Airplane when they start chucking petrol on themselves? Yeah, it was. There were other highlights today, I think, rather than that match.
The point's kind of been made in the comments, but I think what you could say is Wolves are bottom of the league because they're not a good team. But the version of Wolves that we've come into here are a little better than what they've been most of the season. In recent weeks, they've drew with Everton, they've drew away at Old Trafford, they've beat West Ham. They thumped 6 past somebody in the FA Cup last weekend. So there may be on the up a little bit, and it's
got
a bad time to play because they'll run out of that. What I would say, which is disappointing from them, a point from them being so far adrift, scraping points at home isn't really the mindset they should have. They should have went for that a little bit more, which would have opened it up for Newcastle, of course, but they just seemed content to just sit in for a point. So I've said this earlier today, I'll be really glad they go down. It is the worst away trip in the Premier League for me. I said this earlier today, they've got a long, thin away section, so it's difficult to get away atmosphere going. It's one of those places where you can't go in a pub near the ground because you're as welcome as a fart in an astronaut suit. And there is a lot of pubs in central Wolverhampton within range of Molineux. And it's a difficult spot to get to as well. It's quite awkward. Nobody looks forward to that fixture, do they? So it'll take a miracle for them to get out of it. But still just disappointing the day that we couldn't put them a little bit closer. Last year, when the three relegated teams that went down, Newcastle got 18 points from them. And I think this is kind of a little bit of an indicator of the tail off, because we've lost to West Ham, assuming the bottom three are the three that go down, which probably wouldn't work out like that. Lost to West Ham, dropped points here against Wolves. Did the double over Burnley, but does it? We're not as clinical as we were last year, are we?
No.
That's pretty obvious.
Yeah, and I think, as we've said before, especially with losing games late as well, we'd have been much higher up the table by now if we had been more clinical. And
If
exactly, yeah. And like looking at the game today as well, like it's people like Sandro Tonali, like obviously he's just become a dad. Big congratulations, but he looks like he's playing like he's just become a dad. Like he looked tired today, like and. That lack of threat through the middle, the fact that we rely on width so much and we haven't got people that convert crosses, it just like at the moment that doesn't seem to be working. So yeah, it's and we've got that tough. It's a big chance missed today because we've got such a tough run in February. I've just seen a comment there as well from Tino Ely that we've got. It's not been a great week because we've got Villa in the cup. We'll get onto the City game and the outcome of that as well. And then we just missed the chance to go up the league. Like it's kind of looking like a bit of a bad week. So yeah, we've got some tough fixtures coming up as well.
Yeah, the last 2 weeks we've been pretty buzzing because we had two wins in the week. If you count beating Bournemouth on penalties as a win, which it is. So we had 2 last week and 2 the week before, and things seemed on a bit of an upward trajectory. Man City, but then this was probably the time to get back on track. If you can take a couple of positives, like Kenny's saying there, Villa's just lost to Everton. Be good if Villa have chosen this time now to implode a little bit, as we've got them next week, and then probably is it 3 weeks or something after that we've got them in the FA Cup.
Valentine's Day, isn't it? 14th of Feb, I think.
It is,
Someone in the comments might correct me on that.
It is, yeah. You've jogged me memory because it's been announced as a 5:45 kickoff, I think. So we will be on the BBC because the BBC absolutely loves putting Newcastle United's exit from the FA Cup on council telly for the whole country to watch and laugh at. So yeah, it's February 14th. So will be probably 3 weeks on from the home game against them. So either way, a Villa implosion at this point in the season would be useful. We'll come on to Villa in a bit. Just on the relegation side of things that I touched on earlier, do you think Wolves are down? And do you think this bottom 3 that's there now is down? Or is it going to get more interesting down there?
Well, Wolves are definitely down. I think that the manager's on a hiding to nothing there because he'll get them close or win at the odd game here and there. And then they'll go down. I think West Ham will get out of it. Like I know they're right in the mix at the moment. Just getting the table up here. Burnley,
the table would have been useful before I asked you that question.
Thanks for the warning. We'll work on that. I think Burnley are definitely down as well. And then I think I kind of hope Bournemouth go down, but I'm kind of.
Can you just articulate the point status there, just for anyone listening?
Sorry, yeah. So Wolves are 20th with 8 points, so they're miles behind. Burnley on 14 points, 18th West Ham on 17 points, and then it's 5 point gaps of Forest at 17th. So West Ham do have work to do. Looks like a tough call.
I'm gonna throw a relegation dark horse in there, right? Because I think if anybody could crash and burn, and you can come at me for this, I'm going to say Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace. If you really think we've had a bad week, wow.
Yeah, fair. They're losing some players, aren't they? So yeah, I know what you mean. But they're on 20. They're on 28 points with kind of few games.
Let's have a look at Palace's last week. So they've had the worst ever exit from the FA Cup with a top flight team, which is also concurrently the worst ever defence of the FA Cup, going out to Macclesfield.
Fact.
They've then had Oliver Glasner come out in what I can only describe as a terrible huff. and see how he isn't stopping on as manager. And he told Simon Jordan this weeks ago. They've then sold Mark Guehi to Man City, and the latest chat is that they're selling Mateta to Juventus potentially. And to top it all off, they lost to Sunderland yesterday. So I'd like to thank Crystal Palace for choosing the week they played Sunderland to be the week that they completely fell apart, the absolute knackers.
Yeah,
But
I haven't won in 5 in the Premier League as well. So yeah, they are on a bad run. But yeah,
they're going down that way. I can see Glasner leaving. If Mateta leaves as well, they're absolutely bereft of the spine of the team that did so well last season. They've got the added addition of extra Conference League games, and I think they could get dragged right into it. As you see, if West Ham can start fighting the way out. So
big shout. Put that on the title, Chris.
Have you got any dark horse suggestions, or are you? Come on, put a marker down now. Who's going down?
For people getting relegated, I think.
Yeah,
I want it to be Bournemouth. I'm worried it will be Leeds, and the reason I say worried is because I think Leeds are a Premier League team, and they deserve to be in the Premier League. Yeah. But I don't think they always get it right, do they? So yeah, I think Leeds could somehow get pulled to it. But yeah, kind of hope it's Bournemouth.
They tend to.
Yeah.
Leeds is a great away trip as well, and Bournemouth is just an absolute death knell of away trips because you're far away and the ground is about the size of your local soft play. So
yeah,
it's
you say that,
really
but
not
like,
a Premier League.
Every time I've applied for Leeds past seasons they've been in, I get screwed on the loyalty point. So it's no loss to me. But yeah, I've not been there yet.
But the longer the more that novelty wears off, and the more that points total drops, doesn't it? So we'll see.
True.
Anyway, bit of a relegation segue there, but I just thought I'd get that down because it's keeping receipts for when Crystal Palace do go down. But probably much as drawn to Wolves is disappointing, and I'll throw back the comments here. Getting Villa away in the FA Cup was a real kick in the teeth. Probably the worst part of this week was Tuesday night in the first leg of the League Cup semi-final. So after playing well against Man City, we've got a 2-0 deficit going into the second leg. In my opinion, Simon, it's over. We do not get that back.
Yeah.
Do you hold out any hope for the second leg at the Etihad?
No. I'm mad. I think you're mad if you do. Like, unless Man City have some kind of blow up and play the other 200 million worth of players that they brought on at the end of the first leg, and they have a bad night, I can't see anything happening. And also, I hope we use it as a time to rest players. So have a go for the first 45 and then make a lot of subs and get people the hell off the pitch. Yeah. But that game was so frustrating. Like, we were in it. Don't get me wrong, on the night, they were a better team than us, and they could bring on better players than we had to then continue to be better than us. But I think we missed some chance. Like, Wiss missed in the first 5 minutes. I've watched that back since. Like, when he got played through, we thought he could tuck that away, and I played it over my head. Yeah, looks like he should have at least got a shot on target. But also, there was an opportunity to cut it back. I think Jacob Ramsey was in the middle by himself. Little like pass across the box, and like it was 1-0. And I think we could have taken something to the Etihad if that goes in, and if we'd got a goal in that first half.
Oh yeah.
But I think the disappointing fact was we conceded with 10 men on the pitch, and we still went at it. We were still toe to toe with them, but then they bring on a load of players and they kill off the game with the second. So
yeah, just in case anyone's confused, we didn't have a red card or anything, but Jacob Ramsey took a bit of a knock to the head, didn't he? And he was off the field getting treatment when Semenyo scored City's first. So we've got something to feel a bit miffed about. And it's fine margins, isn't it? I think you mentioned the Wissar chance. That happens for them. They'll probably complain about the offside goal, but Haaland was stood in front of two of our players. It was ridiculous how long it took, but I don't want to dwell on that. But then you've got Marty followed up and they cleared it off the line or something.
You broke up a bit there, Jamie. Sorry. But you're back.
Sorry, we had that crazy moment where like somebody hit the post and then the follow-up was cleared off the line. Yes. And it was just very, very fine margins. But I did hear someone, when we go to the away leg, you never know. The keeper could get sent off in the first minute, and the act they've given a penalty away, we put the penalty in, and it's 2. And it is literally that extreme that you're looking at. You're looking for some kind of 500 to 1 lady luck shining on us for something to get out of that. And I think you might need to just protect players in that game.
Yeah, agree. Yeah. And the other frustration is they've 2-0 to Man United, who are rubbish, by the way. Why couldn't they do that for us? But it's so frustrating. But yeah, because we thought they were gonna romp on and win the league after we watched that the other day. And Arsenal, I think, gave up points the other week as well. And it's like Arsenal choking again, same old thing. Man City going to win the league, but it looks like Arsenal are going to hold out for it.
I had a thought, right, and I kind of don't want to say this or dwell on it, but nobody is excelling this season. Everybody's tripped up. Like Arsenal are there at the top. Villa are having a good season, to be fair, although they lost today. I can't help but wonder, if not for the Isak situation, if he'd have been happy to stay, and we'd have just concentrated on finding a complementary striker to replace Callum Wilson, could we have been the team that?
What? Yeah. It was in one of my notes. It was in one of my notes for the Wolves game today, but I didn't say it for fear of outrage. But we win that game today if Isak's on the pitch. He puts away something today because he was the cutting edge last season.
And I mean, I guess there's another question there, because Isak's been terrible at Liverpool and then he's had that injury. If he has a full pre-season at Newcastle, if he's committed to Newcastle, do any of those injuries happen? Was he made road injury towards the end of last season? It's all hypotheticals and we shouldn't dwell on it, I know, but I just think the Premier League seems so average this year. If we are better next year, part of me will be thinking, oh crap, could we not have done that
exactly
in the summer of 25 and when everyone else was having a bit of a year off? But but dragging it back to the League Cup, by the time game comes around, I'll be sat there and I'll be thinking, maybe. I'll have kind of convinced myself. And I think the worst thing that could happen is it's kind of 1-0 to us and they have to put another 90-minute in to go and get that second. Whereas at least if City score in the first half, you can say, right, I'm taking off anyone who's half injured.
Yeah.
Interesting little point about it, actually, that is in with a discussion we had when I was on the late night show last Monday on Talk TV. Like and subscribe. We were talking about ticket allocation, and as always, the Man City second leg tickets went on sale before the first leg match, and a lot of people expressed an interest, and the ticket allocation stopped at something like 23 points. And then a bunch of those people decided they didn't want to go, and there was something like 700 tickets left. Now, to me, this gives people what they want. People have said they want a chance if they're on low points to go to away games. And if you've got, I think it went down to something like 7 points. If you've got that kind of points, you should be saying, right, well, I'll take a trip to Man City midweek. Because we've had this issue, and it's a nice problem to have, because we are going to Paris next week, and that's 3 days off work.
Clang.
That's running it past the wife and making sure she's all right with looking after the family while you're absent. A weekend that for me would probably be spent lying on the sofa watching the Back to the Future trilogy and digging out some old episodes of Quantum Leap that we can then talk about on this pod. And it's a big old thing. And then if you're going to use more annual leave from work and spend more money, and midweek games are an overnighter, you've as you get better and you're playing more European games, you've kind of got to pick and choose, haven't you?
I hope, yeah.
But but I don't think I'd call anyone a bad fan for after that first leg, thinking I don't really fancy the second leg.
No, it's a lot of it's a lot of time. It can be money for people. Like, you want to go and support the team, but yeah, it'll be decided in the first potentially, and it's a tough trip to make. But so I think on the other side of it as well, all fair play to those that do manage to make the trip. Like, fair play to those guys. But tell me how you persuaded your wife it was okay to do.
And I am actually going there, but not for that game. I'm going for the league match next month, and when I need to put in for the tickets tomorrow, and they still haven't announced whether it's a 12:30 kickoff or an 8 o'clock kickoff on the Saturday, which doesn't really matter because those two times are pretty close together, aren't they? You know.
Always considering the fans, aren't they? Always about the fans. Yeah,
supporters really are the lifeblood.
Yeah.
So it's only 7.5 hours apart. So like I've made my choice for how I'm getting there and stuff, and I can't attend either. But imagine you were trying to plan that.
Are you stopping over?
Yeah, I think you've got to with an 8 o'clock kickoff even on the cards. But I took advantage of Premier Inn's January deal where you could get money off if you booked. If you book when nobody wants to go anywhere or can afford it.
Yeah. Any sponsorship from Premier Inn is welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that the one that Lenny Henry does?
Possibly, yeah.
No,
maybe the comments will let us.
Well, anyway, I could do what he does.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to put Sir Lenny out of a job either because he does a fantastic job. But yeah.
He's got comic relief, hasn't he? I bet that pays well. But yeah, I'm thinking we maybe focus on other competitions, and that League Cup semi-final, you can't completely write it off because if things do turn around, there's a final coming.
Yeah.
But I think move on from it. Tuesday night, I would say as well, disappointing result, good performance.
Yeah.
Maybe could be more clinical.
We were just beat by.
But it's one of the top sides in the world on their day. Unfortunately, they hit a little bit, even though they're having a bit of an off season. So it has been a crappy week. Let's do some comparisons then. I've got a couple here, but do you want to go first, Simon, or do you want me to jump into delve into the past to see if were things better at this point in history? If you look at things Newcastle were doing in the past, or were they worse? Which might make us feel better about Roma Wolverhampton.
I know we're missing our compadre this week, so but I'm going to continue to be hopefully more of a positive vibe around most of my time supporting Newcastle in real life and trying to look for opportunities where during that period, which was mostly the Mike Ashley era, there were positive moments. And we've been talking a little bit about the man who we haven't normally mentioned tonight, which is Alexander Isak, but this is about a different Isak, or Isaac, as he was actually christened by his parents. So this was another game where Steve Bruce was in charge. It was on this day.
Is it Isaac Hayden?
Correct. In 2020.
Right.
It was on this day in 2020, in fact, that we beat Chelsea 1-0 at home. Isaac Hayden scored in the 94th minute. So this was a horrible game. We watched a team playing 5-4-1. Joe Linton was up front, as was the theme of the time. We had a back five that included... back five that included your favourite left backs, Jamie, because you got to shout the words. Do you remember?
No. Who was left back? Tell me who it was and I'll tell you what
Well, his surname's Williams.
Danny Williams?
No, Jetro.
Oh, Jethro.
Every week.
Right, sorry. Great player.
He was good. He was good,
wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think I think
For
he was the
comedy
best
fun,
player.
I used to shout Jethro in a West Country accent because that's what I think.
And guys, if that's the kind of night out that you want, get in touch with us because it's
Yeah.
non-stop fun. So yeah, he was probably the best player in that back five. So we had Jetro Williams at left back, Kraft at right back, Fernandez, Lascelles, and Kieran Clark of Saudi Arabia away game fame. And then a midfield four of St. Max, Shelby, Hayden, and Almiron on the right, with Joe up front. I mean, hideous game. Chelsea dominated us for the entire game. But it was all forgotten when Hayden popped up in the last minute and scored a header to beat Chelsea. And we went down the pub to celebrate afterwards, which I'll stick a little picture in the chat here. But yeah, it was just one of those typical games where we spent the whole game just waiting for Chelsea to score, and they didn't. They were in a transition time. So Frank Lampard was the scorer at the time. Frank Lampard was the manager at the time. Sorry, I should say. And they had, I would say, probably one of their weaker modern teams out. So, like Emiram, before he got good and went to Roma, was playing up front. They had Hudson-Odoi, Willian on the pitch, and Mason Mount. So it wasn't the strongest Chelsea team we've ever seen, but it was to be honest, it was a great day. I had a good friend of mine, Ash, come up to visit, and he's typically a kind of, I don't know what the word, lucky horseshoe for us. So every time he seems to come to the match with us, we win. So, and this was one of those occasions.
Has he still never seen Newcastle lose in person?
He might correct me at some point, but I don't think he's seen us lose.
He's not been to like 2 or 3 games either. He's been to a lot, hasn't he? And he's not ever seen a defeat, which is incredible. And if he has, it's only been very, very recently.
Yeah. I mean, the games that stick out for me are like Norwich, Chelsea. It might have been to Chelsea twice, but yeah, he's been to a couple of games with us. But yeah, he's never seen us lose. But yeah, this was one of those games where like the pain was worth the result at the end because like we do love playing Chelsea at home. This was a good result.
Yeah, and I think that's a good comparison because, well, there's a few things about this, but first and foremost, it's a time when beating Chelsea at home was such a massive, massive shock that you just had to spend a late night in the pubs.
Yeah.
Celebrating. Someone might correct me if I'm wrong. I think this was the game where Matt Ritchie volleyed a corner flag into some man's goalies. It was stood in the crowd. You know, Ritchie used to do that in the celebrations after this goal. He booted it right in the stand, hit some guy right in the pods, which is bad enough. But then it ended up getting on match of the day and everying.
Yeah,
so
I'd like to flag the kit. Actually, we were wearing as well because I think it's one of the worst kits we've had. Like a lot of the Puma kits, but this was awful. I was not a fan of that one, but anyway, side point.
It's just another unmemorable kit from the Mike Ashley era, isn't it?
Yeah, wasn't Ritchie the one against Man United? It would have been him scoring if he's kicked the corner flag into someone's goonies, wouldn't it?
I seem to think it was that game. So we'll research that for next week, right? Just put Matt Ritchie man's bollocks into Google. You can do that Google, right?
I'll do it incognito.
Yeah, yeah, because that solves everything,
doesn't it?
That's like your Harry Potter cloak of invisibility on the internet,
doesn't it? It does, doesn't it?
I think you'll find, officer, that was in incognito mode.
Right. I don't know what you're talking about, but anyway, yeah, incognito solves everything. But yeah, that was my comparison.
But and also that was the last goal I think that anybody scored before we basically got locked out the ground for a year.
Yeah, I was thinking that the timing of it with so COVID started in March, didn't it? So yeah, it wasn't long after that before
COVID started in March, but the last 2 games were awful goalless draws at home. And I remember do you remember how we used to have online quizzes on Skype and Teams and things during the lockdown? And one of the questions that come up in one of our quizzes was, what was the last goal we saw before the lockdown got us? And that was it, that Isaac Hayden goal, even though it was mid-January and the lockdown never hit till March. So I think that's done its job, because you're looking back at that Bruce era and you're saying, here's a goal we scored in a game we would never hope to win. And it was the last goal we scored for 2 months at home, even though we played in Norwich. And so, I kind of feel a bit better about drawing Wolverhampton. Mine's arguably even worse. Well, it is worse. It's definitely a worse game.
Oh, good. Strap in.
I've gone with a bit of a mad one, and again, it's quite esoteric. It is 2009. How many years ago was that? 7 years.
What did you just say? 7
Googling? 17.
Good. I thought you said 7. Yeah.
Yeah. And well, it feels like that. I went to Blackburn as a Christmas present for my nephew, who would have been about 13 at the time. I decided to take him to his first away game at Ewood Park. Blackburn isn't that far away geographically, I thought. So I got the tickets, gave them to him as a Christmas present, and got the bus over. And there was me, my nephew, and our mate Martin. And we got beat 3-0. All I remember is Jason Roberts scored for Blackburn, because I bought my nephew a programme and he said, Jason Roberts is on the front. He's crap. And I said to him, you never say that. You never, ever say that. Because look what happens. And he learned that lesson the hard way that day. And the reason that sticks in my mind is I vowed, after what felt like a 5-hour trip back from what must be, 120 miles to Blackburn, I vowed never to ever get a coach to any away game again. So, like, when you're asking, am I staying over in Manchester for Man City? Yes. I'll get the train, I'll make someone else drive, but the coach travel can just be so tedious, especially after you've lost and you're locked up with a bunch of other irate Newcastle fans. So we ended up going down. I had a look, that result put us 14th in the league, and we ended up going down. So, I said about Crystal Palace before, like you feel like you're in quite a steady mid-table spot, but once it starts unraveling, you just go and go. And that is what happened to us with that relegation. It didn't really look too much of a threat around the winter time, and then we just sort of kept posting more and more crap results, managerial flip-flopping, and in the end, down we went by a point or two. So, yeah, that is bad stuff, and that was a team that should never have went down. The other game that I did flag a little bit was it was actually the next year I had a look at, when we played West Brom at home on this very date in 2010. And the only reason I mentioned that one is because that was the first game I took my then girlfriend, now wife, to. And I remember it was interesting because the two angry blokes who used to sit in front of us, they were quite pleasantly surprised to see her, because normally it would be just a different procession of ugly blokes that would come and sit with us at every game, and she got a bit more attention from them. But she's done well, she comes now and then. She doesn't want to come too much that she gets in the way. She can handle herself at an away game. And that's a bit of a memory for me. I bet if you asked her that question, what's the first Newcastle match we went to together, she wouldn't have a clue. But I remember that it was, because I'm an old romantic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, not just a Newcastle aficionado.
So, I guess that's this day in history. Do we have a little look at our chart then? Because we didn't do this last week because I had some problems with my internet.
Yeah,
But
it was a big pause there, but yeah, it was your internet that was the issue.
yeah, but so we never managed to do this last week. But looking at it now, I'm just going to share our chart of how we view the rest of the Premier League, the comparison with the rest of the league. So we've got at the top, we've got worldwide super clubs in which we've got Man City, Chelsea, Man United. Next, we've got massive clubs, which we've got ourselves, Everton and Tottenham. Big, we've got West Ham and Sunderland, unfortunately. Medium, we have Crystal Palace. Small, we've got Fulham and Burnley. And Tin Pot, we've got Brentford. So, Simon, I think it's an interesting one, this. Where on there do you put Wolverhampton?
Oh, God. By the way, it's tiny on your screen, so while I'm talking, you might want to put it on a big screen for the folks at home.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to work visually. I mean, audibly, if anyone's listening as a podcast. But there we go. There's a big version of it.
For those listening, the image is now bigger on the screen. This is tricky because I feel like when you talk about Wolves, it feels like there's legacy there. Like there used to be a big club that's played in Europe. I think I read some nonsense not nonsense. I read George Best's autobiography, and Wolves gets mentioned a lot. I don't know if they used to be written about it during that kind of era.
They've got a very decorated history. I'm Wikipedia on them because I don't know off the top of my head, but I've got it here now.
Well researched podcast again.
Yeah, that is. Hey, we've all got a strength to play to. Hutch should be doing this, but he can't even be bothered to turn up. So true. They've been champions of England 3 times, all in the 1950s. I think it might be a quiz question that they're the only team to do this because they've also won the 2nd division as recently as 2018 when it was the championship, the 3rd division, and the 4th division. So they've been champions of every level of the Football League. Of course, most of the big clubs you see on there have never been below the 2nd tier at least. They've won the League Cup twice and they've won the FA Cup 4 times. Most recent League Cup win was 1980. That was their most recent major trophy. And things like the Charity Shield. UEFA Cup runners-up in 1972. So they've got the history there. They've got a big fan base. They've representative of a whole town. It's a pretty horrible town, but they represent it.
So, I think we get into the territory of winning stuff. And historically, from medium downwards, not much stuff has been won. Whereas big upwards, you talk about winning stuff. So I would put them as big alongside West Ham and Sunderland. I think that is where I would put them.
Yeah, so I'm torn between big and medium because I think they've spent a lot of time in the lower reaches, especially in recent years. Haven't got a lot of pedigree in the Premier League. That wasn't a joke because Wolves and pedigree, but and I think they're heading out of it now. I think historically, yes, they are a big club. So because you said that, I'm going to do that there. Very quickly, we were supposed to do Leeds and Bournemouth last week. Now, we can swing back to Bournemouth when we get them next in the league because we've still got to play them at St James in the Premier League. But Leeds United, thoughts on them, Simon?
Massive, I think. I think that
they should be massive.
My initial reaction massive, but then of recent era, they're big, but they did win the last First Division. But they haven't had a good run in the Premier League, or they did get into the Champions League. I'm gonna stick with massive. I'm gonna stick with massive because they've got a big history as well. I think if you look at them alongside Everton, probably along the same kind of lines, like, and they.
I think
have won the league.
I'm going to agree with you, but a lot of this is how much they represent. You've got a huge part of the biggest county in England follows Leeds United.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the one. And they've always had a big fan base. They've always had a big ground. They are very up and down. They've won a lot of things in the 1970s under Don Revie. And then they won that First Division title you're talking about. Not much outside of that. They actually only spent something like 50 or 60 years in the top flight, and they've spent a lot of time out of it. They're kind of synonymous with shooting themselves in the foot and cocking things up, aren't they? And being like a bit of a banter club at times, but they have that in common with everybody else on that. So we can't really shout them down for that, can we?
No.
But I agree. I think them being in the Premier League is so important. It's such a better club to be in there than some of this lot down the bottom, without any disrespect. But I think we'll put them in massive and we'll review them every now and then. Maybe if we hadn't scored those 2 late goals, we might have put them in the next one down out of spite. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I will see what Hutch says about it as well. We might just touch on it, but
which will no doubt be something ridiculous.
It might resurrect the Everton Spurs debate.
Okay, so we've gone over what's happened in the past. We've gone over what's happened in the present. How about the future then? So the week coming up, I feel like we say this all the time, but it's a massive one. So I'm going to just touch on Villa first, because people might not know, but they've lost at home to Everton today. They were on an 11-match winning run at home, I think, in all competitions. And they've lost it to Everton, which is a crazy thing to happen. Now, I don't want to have a pop at the Ev here, but that suggests they maybe have not been at the best today. I saw a statistic somewhere that Villa have the biggest, let's see, I'm not very good with statistics, fans. Villa have the biggest overperformance on their expected goals out of everybody in the Premier League, right? So putting that into English, what that kind of means is they score a lot more goals than they really should be doing by the pattern of their play. A lot of the goals just caned in from a little bit of distance. They're like shots from outside the box, aren't they? And so it suggests that they could run out of luck. And we need them to run out of luck because we've got them next week. After that, our next league game is Liverpool away, and then we've got Tottenham away. And then later that month, we've got Man City away. So we really could do with putting a sticking plaster over today's result by beating them. You feel confident about beating them, Simon?
Nope.
Nope.
No. Emery is just, Emery seems to just have the rub over us, I think. So it's going to be a tricky one. We've got, I think they've just had a mare today, and they'll turn it around. He does very well at turning them around again.
I don't think Emery's got the rub over us, because we've beaten them every year at St James for something like 5 years now. We what was it last year? Beat them on Boxing Day 3-0.
Sorry,
5 past them opening day the year before that. And
there's a game that stands out where they annihilated us. It must have been at Villa, and it was like it just seemed to absolutely like. So that's the game that stands out for me. I'm always worried they could do that again.
Well, last year it was when we went on a really good run that included winning the League Cup final. It was going down there that burst that bubble because they beat us 4-1, I think.
That was the one, yeah.
But we drew there earlier this season. We won there the season before that. So we've got an hit and miss record at theirs where we've had some good results, whereas they religiously seem to get beat up here. I don't want that to be a bad omen for next week, and then they come in because all good things must come to an end, But it may be in their heads a little bit that this is a place that they can't win, and certainly Emery hasn't won here. So
You've said it.
the
Now.
FA Cup next month might be a different matter.
True, and hopefully now like you say, they're hitting a run of bad form, and we can take advantage of that. But I just don't know with us. Like we just managed to draw with Wolves, so it feels like a nervy time to play someone who are having on the whole, a very good season.
It does, and there's another thing to consider because we've got the Champions League before that. We've got what I think is a massive game. PSV Eindhoven at home. We are in a good position to get through. There's a very decent chance if we beat these that we will go into the top 8, the automatic qualification zone. We've then got to go to Paris, whereby we'd probably lose that position. But I think this game dictates what happens to us in the Champions League, do you?
Yeah, absolutely. So PSV as well. So they're top of the Dutch league with a plus 36 goal difference. So they know how to find the back of the net. I don't know how they get. How are they doing in the Champions League at the moment? Where are they? I've asked the question.
I should point out while you're looking at that the Dutch league is bobbins, by the way. So probably on a par with Scotland, but anyone storming away at the top of the division has got to be done well. I think in the Champions League, aren't they just a couple of places below us? They beat Liverpool at Anfield.
So they've got 8 points and they're in 21st. We're 12th with 10. It's a pretty tight league to call. So it's not like a...
Sorry, how many points have they got?
8.
So, and we've got 10. So they'll be looking at getting a win that would mean the leapfrog us. I think with these games, number one, unless you just sit and watch football 24/7, it's your job, or because you're unemployable or something, then nobody's got an equal view on how PSV are doing and how the Dutch league would compare to Newcastle United. It's one of those where you've kind of just got to get there on the night and see what happens. But with them being top of the league like that, with them having scored 4 at Anfield, I think what we can say is if we turn in the sleepy performance, then they will punish us. We need to be on it on Wednesday night. And I think it's very, very, very important that we get something out of that game. Even if we draw that game, I think that probably puts us in a position where we'll end up getting through into the playoff round in the worst case scenario. If we win that game, we give ourselves a fighting chance of getting into the automatic qualification round, which would be brilliant for getting through and getting a home second leg. It would also be brilliant because it would mean we don't have to play 2 playoff games in February when there's already a packed schedule with the domestic trophies. It will come down to Paris, but I personally think this will decide a lot of it. If we beat PSV, we go to Paris knowing worst case scenario we'll be in the playoffs. If we don't beat PSV, we might be going to Paris thinking we need something away to the European champions. And anybody who sat and watched that game with Wolverhampton today didn't think this Newcastle team could beat the European champions away from home. They probably thought something like, I'm going to comfort eat myself out of this into a food coma this afternoon because this has put me in such a bad place.
Yeah.
Or I might take up something else. Might start watching baseball instead.
I was wondering if my wife had done Yorkshire puddings, and she had. So it was a massive bonus all around. But
yeah,
that's not a team that's... Yorkshire puddings don't beat PSG. Put that as the title of this podcast, I think, is the...
Just puddings.
Puddings. That's it. Yeah. That is the one to go with, I think.
If I gave you £1 million betting chip to bet on Newcastle against PSV, what are you putting it?
Do you say PSV?
Yeah, it's a bit confusing that we've got those two teams in consecutive fixtures, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
£1 million betting chip.
Hard time to break off.
I'd have to put it on. If it was £1 million, well, first of all, I'd just go and cash it in and leg it with your £1 million, to be honest.
You can't cash it in. That's a dick's answer. That's like,
everybody else is thinking.
It's a betting chip.
Right,
that's why I said it's a betting chip instead of £1 million to bet, because you could just say I wouldn't put that bet on. You've got to bet this chip. You can't cash it in. You've got to take this chip and take it to the sports desk at the MGM Grand, where I wish I was now instead of talking to you, and say I want to put this chip on outcome X for the Newcastle match with PSV. This is honest. I think this is a harsh thing to say, but I'm going to say it. This is like talking to Hutch.
Can you do like a bet builder and add like different scenarios into it? Is that like, PSV? I'd put it on PSV. It would be PSV.
You put on PSV to beat us?
Yeah, them at home. I don't. Yeah,
but we're at home.
Sorry, yeah, we're at home.
Stay tuned, everyone, for Up in the Minute chat.
I'm still worried. Yeah, I think it's going to be PSV.
Newcastle United.
Sorry, I was still thinking of how I'd spend the £1 million that I've cashed out after taking the chip back to the account.
Is it because we're playing PSV, then we're playing
PSG away?
And that's too much for you.
It is, clearly, and it's Sunday night, and I've had a lot of puddings.
PSG away will be next week's show.
Let's start again.
Right.
Let's start again. You're giving me a betting chip on PSV.
Can we do that take from the top?
Right. We're doing a betting chip on PSV.
I'll re-give you the scenario. In a couple of weeks, we're getting on an aeroplane to go to Paris. Forget about all that.
Yeah.
In 3 nights' time, we are playing PSV, V for Victor, home at St James's Park.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think they're top of the league with a plus 36 goal difference, I believe.
Yeah.
What do you think will happen? I try to word what do you think will happen in a jolly way, and it just costs us 3 minutes of whittle. Because you don't know your V's from your G's.
I think it will be 2-1 to PSV because they'll score a breakaway goal while we're trying to win it at the end. So we'll lose 2-1. Yeah.
Well, I think we'll do all right. I think we'll get the win that we need there. Because
when you say there, you mean home and in that fixture. Because when you say there, it makes it sound like right. Okay.
Yeah. No. Right. We'll talk about Paris. So next week we'll do a preview of Paris. When we're out in Paris, we'll send some videos, and the week after we'll talk about the defeat in Paris.
Right. Okay. We don't need to ask this question about PSG then. It's just PSV.
You will have plenty of time to talk about the beating you get off some Parisian street toughs.
Okay. Sounds good.
For asking the way at the Eindhoven Stadium or whatever they call it, because you can't tell the two teams apart. Is it the letters V and G? Was there a VG food store in your street when you were little, and did you find it extremely confusing?
Your internet was breaking up as well. Like there was a lot going on.
That's it. Blame the tech.
I will. I've given my answer.
So you'll think you think we'll lose, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Someone has said Paris is a shite hole. It has everywhere has its bad spots, but Paris, I do like it as a city. I think it's pretty fab. We're having a bit of a bimble round there after the game, aren't we? When hopefully there's less men wanting to batter us. But as I've been at pains to point out, that'll be next week's show when we look ahead. Hopefully look ahead with a bit of confidence. Another big, massive week. 2 home games, which tends to deliver a little bit more joy than anything that involves travelling anywhere, although that will not be the case in the weeks after that. But things could look a lot rosier this time next week. So we will be about across the week. Chris, the American Mag, is in Newcastle. As I say, I saw him today, and I'll be catching him for a couple of games as the week goes on. But I'll see you, Simon, on Wednesday night. I'm really hoping the game's Wednesday because I've said that about 3 times now, but it just seems to be absolutely random.
Yeah.
But
Wednesday night at home, to be very clear.
At home against PSV.
PSV. Dutch guys. Dutch. PSV guys, yeah.
PSV Eindhoven, yes.
Yeah.
So that's it for this week's comparison with All Things Newcastle. We'll have those 2 games and then we'll compare them with some stuff and maybe compare some other stuff with some other stuff. But until then, Simon, thank you for joining me, especially when the other shit couldn't be bothered.
You're very welcome. And you were missed, David, if you're watching this back.
Yeah, up yours, Hutch. Right, and everyone, thank you for listening, commenting, doing whatever you're doing, and we'll see you next week. Cheers, everyone. Bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye.